following program is sponsored. The opinions and statements made by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of WBOB or its parent company, the Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation.
It's time for Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard. Angela and Howard talk about what's new in real estate and answer your buying and selling questions. To participate in today's show, call 222-TALK. That's 222-8255. And now, here are Angela and Howard.
Well, good morning, Jacksonville. Actually, I am not Angela. You usually hear Angela's voice opening up the show, and she is not late today. She is not here. We actually have a co-host today. His name, I'm not going to tell you yet. Actually, it's Greg from Watson Title. Greg Harris. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Howard. Great to be here.
Good. Well, first I got to tell everyone why Angela is not here, because it's a very, very special occasion for Angela today. Her daughter Mackenzie is graduating from the University of Florida. So right now, her daughter may be walking down the aisle and receiving her Bachelor of Science degree. So we want to give a big shout out to Mackenzie and to Angela, congratulating the Walker family on her achievement of graduating today. So in her place, Greg Harris, who has been on the show many, many times, talking about the closing process and how important that is in the purchasing of homes, because there are so many aspects of real estate in the buying and selling process. You know, realtors, of course, advertise the property for sale, and realtors show properties for sale. And once a contract comes through, nothing happens until that closing time. And there are many, many things that happen prior to that closing that Greg and his fantastic team get involved. So we're going to talk about that today. But first, I want to say we had a great week, and it was another great week in real estate. So, Greg, I want you to do, as a co-host today, I'd like you to do and tell everybody what Angela does, and she tells everybody how real estate was in Jacksonville this week. So will you do that for us today?
I would be honored. I'm neither as easy on the eye or the ear as Miss Angela, who I've known since I was a teenager, because Jacksonville is a big, small town. I would be honored to. But hey,
Thank you.
Let's talk about what's happened here in our neck of Florida. When you look at the Northeast Florida MLS, the past week, for homes and condos, there are 850 offers that got accepted, and that's up 12% from last week. Spring's already heating up.
Wow.
There was 911 new homes that came on the market, and that's up 8% from last week. So
that's only the second time this year that it's been over 900, Greg.
Yeah, that 2 points makes a trend, as we like to say. And of the 911, 177 of them are already under contract, and 34 of them, they went under contract the first day, and 613 you actually closed on the home yourself. So we say
congratulations. That's great.
Up 12% from last week. That's just a great kickoff to the spring.
Well, that must mean that your business is, because you're going to be closing a lot of those, because your business is up, isn't it?
We've had a great year. I sent a little note to the folks that have given us an opportunity to be part of the closing process and to help them and their buyers and their sellers every month. And I kind of joked that I feel like I'm repeating myself, because we've had a great year and we've grown our team. We're up a little over 30% year on year. It's been really exciting. It's exciting for more than two reasons. One is when you grow like that, you get an opportunity to bring more people on your team. So it's always exciting to bring in new people, get new ideas, help you make your process even better. But you're seeing new customers coming online, and it's fun after, Howard, you and Angela, y'all been in the business a long time. And back when things were a little rough the last decade, it was tough for a lot of people. But there are folks right now who they're well above water in their home, and they want to either move up or they want to downsize a bit, and they've got equity in their home, And there's lots of buyers out there. They're not sitting there with a for sale sign in their front yard forever and ever. And it's just real exciting for people that would like to move up or move around or wherever they want to go. They have the ability to do that, and they're able to go on that in that next chapter in their life a lot faster. So you have a lot more upbeat, laughing, and grins at the closing table than we did a few years ago. It's just a real exciting time to be in the real estate industry.
It is, and you have an interesting perspective, too, because prior to being in the title business, you were actually a realtor for a little while, weren't you?
I sure was. I was in the trenches, and I have a great opportunity. Watson Realty has a thing called Success School for people that are new to the real estate industry to help them get a good step up in their business. And I have an opportunity twice to speak to the new realtors. And I remember exactly what it was like to sit in that seat as a new realtor, and which is a great time to come in, because when I came into the business, it was a little soft. But as in many things in life, when you get started on a new career, if you can succeed when it's tough, when things get busy, you can really have a good experience for you and your customers.
Well, the other thing that I have to say to you is kind of we have to give our audience kind of an introduction to who you are, is to say thank you for serving, because Angela and I have a very special place in our heart for the military, and you, I guess, retired from the Navy as a commander, correct? Tell everybody about your background, because you have a very interesting background that I think everybody will find very interesting.
Well, Jacksonville is my hometown, born and raised, and I kind of joke with folks that I've seen the world decided they could have it, and I wanted to come home to the best place to live. But I came back to the U.S. In 2009. I did serve 21 years on active duty, and I was lucky. I actually did a couple tours here in Jacksonville, one as a flight instructor over at NAS, and one as a staff guy over at Mayport. But that big 4-engine plane that's being replaced by a militarized version of the 737 that everybody hears over their head, that was me for a few years in the P-3s. And my kids are funny. We like to compete with folks on how many countries. My kids have been in 29 countries, and my youngest actually has been in a few more than that on her own. And I've been in 40 plus.
Wow.
So all over the place, both here in the U.S. and overseas. And I came back in 2009. And Jacksonville does have a big Navy and military presence too. And we see that in a lot of our business, people who are transferring in and transferring out. And it's nice to help them too, because most people have somebody in the business understand that in the military, you do move every 18 to 36 months.
Well, that's great. 40 countries? Oh my! I don't know that I could name 40 countries. Well, I probably could, but it would take me a while. So, well, we want to thank you for serving. We're glad that you're here today, serving as our co-host. You're usually here as a guest, but because Angela's not here, you've been promoted to co-host today as well as guest here on the show.
Well,
so,
I've been accused of being a chatty Cathy, so hopefully I'll pull my weight today.
Well, we know that you're going to do that today. We've got a lot to talk about today with respect to, what is the closing process, because it is so involved. Now, normally, the buyer and the seller, they just come to a table and they sign a bunch of papers, but there's so much that goes on prior to that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and talk a little bit about the papers that are signed, what they mean, what you're signing for, what that deed is, what all those fees are. They don't go to you. Very few of them go to you. They go to the government. They go to pay off a loan. So we're going to talk about all of that and make it all as transparent as possible and make it so that everybody knows what the heck is going on. What is a title commitment? What is escrow? What are deed stamps? What is a survey? Who pays for what? All of those things. What is a short sale? All, just everything that goes on. So we want people to call in with their questions as well. And the number, of course, is 1-800-222-8255. We're here to answer your questions. And that's what we're going to do with Greg Harris, the president of Watson Title Services. And by the way, you don't have to be buying or selling with Watson Title Services or through Watson. Anyone can use their services. So stay with us, call us with your questions, and we, everybody, will be right back. Hey, WBOB listeners, it's your realtor on the radio, Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. Angela and I don't just do the radio show, we are active realtors. When it's time to buy, we will interview you to determine your specific housing needs. Distance to work, style of home, school needs, distance to place of worship, kids' activities, lifestyles, number of bedrooms, budget, and so much more. In short, we do our very best to find you your perfect home. We won't waste your time showing you houses that don't fit your needs. Whether you're moving up, moving into your first home, or now an empty nester, you can trust us for the most important purchase of your life. It's what we do. It's what we'll do for you. Experience the Angela and Howard Team Advantage. Call us at 421-7950.
Is there something going wrong with your garage door or opener? My name is Peter, and I am the owner of Quality Door Service. And my basic garage door repair starts at just $125, and that includes parts. Included with your repair, I will instruct you about fire and safety, protection from hurricane and burglary, and maintenance on your garage door. Call me today at 588-4817. That's 588-4817. Angela and Howard did.
There's finally a mortgage lender in Jacksonville that sees financing differently. With 20 years' experience, CMG Financial understands that the most important purchase in your life, your home, deserves the right mortgage. Tim McConnell at CMG Financial will work to customize the best financing option for you. Angela and I recommend CMG Financial to all our customers. Give Tim a call at 528-2103. That's 528-2103. CMG Financial is a registered trade name of CMG Mortgage, Inc., NMLS number 1820, and licensed as a mortgage lender servicer by the Office of Financial Regulation, number MLD 375, individual MLS number 181046.
Are you buying a property being sold by HUD? As a buyer, you can select Watson Title Services of North Florida as your settlement agent. Avoid having to deal with out-of-town companies, and make sure you get the world-class customer service of Watson Title Services that Angela and Howard have come to expect. Call them at 461-3220 when you're looking at buying a HUD property to ensure your purchase goes through as smoothly as possible. That's 461-3220. Angela and Howard do. Angela Walker and Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. not only come to you every Saturday morning, but they would also like to work with you when you need them the most. That is, when you need to buy or sell a home. They pride themselves in giving you their very best effort every day and in every way. There are many realtors in the First Coast to choose from. Let them show you the Howard and Angela Team Advantage. Call them at 421-7950 or email them at realestateradio@yahoo.com. This segment of Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard is brought to you by CMG Financial. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We are here. It's not Angela today. We have a guest co-host. It is Greg Harris, the president of Watson Title Services of Northeast Florida. And today we are dedicating our show, not dedicating, we are talking today about the closing process with Greg. So one of the big processes that go on behind the scenes is the title search. So, Greg, tell us, what is the title search? What's the purpose of it? And take us through a little bit of what goes on there.
Well, I could go back 1,000 years of common law history, but I don't think we want to do that. And the key is the title. It's a piece of paper that says, you, Howard, own this property, defined by these set of parameters that describe the outline of the property. It is yours, and it's yours free and clear, which means it's free of any type of other people having claims on the property, which are, clouds, any type of encumbrances like tax liens or other liens people may have put on the property, or you've used it as collateral to borrow money. And so there's a lien against it that needs to be paid off in order for that to be taken off the property. So that's what the title is. And when somebody buys a property, they want to get a title that's free and clear. That's where that phrase comes from, free and clear. It's free of any encumbrances, clouds. A cloud is just a fancy way of saying that somebody else might have a claim on it, or the person who says they're selling it may not be able to do it by themselves, or any type of lien. So when you buy the property, think about the word lien or attachment. If you buy that property with a lien or attachment, guess what? Those liens and attachments comes with that piece of paper. So what we do is we do what's called, and they'll hear it during the process, called a 30-year marketable title search, where we will go back and look at everything that may be related to that property, whether it's a lien, whether it's some type of encumbrance or claim on the property, or that person who has title on that they received it properly, that it wasn't given to them and two other individuals who may or may not know that they have an interest in the property. So we go back, so we make sure that when the seller, in most places in Northeast Florida besides Nassau County, the seller pays for the title search and the owner's title insurance, which is part of the present owner's way of saying to the new buyer, hey, I'm Greg, I'm selling you my property and I own it, and it is what I say it is. And by the way, here's a title insurance policy that you will own the entire time you own the property. And if you pass on and you give it to your heirs will be protected too against any type of claims against the property, whether it's an ownership or a physical description of the property, and any legal fees that are associated with that. Here's that insurance policy. Let's close this deal. That's what we do.
Okay, let me ask a question, because you raised a couple of questions in my mind and perhaps in the mind of some of our listeners. So let's say I'm buying a piece of property from you and a title search is done. First of all, you are searching county records, correct?
Correct. That's
so
part of it.
That only searches what has been filed with the county. What if somebody, let's say somebody put a roof on the house and they didn't pay for the roof, so there's something owed on that roof, but the roofer did not put a lien on the house and file it with the county. So nobody knows about it at the time. You sell the house to me, then the roofer goes and then puts a lien on the house, comes after me because I'm the new owner. Does the title insurance policy cover me as the new owner?
And everybody hates when you say this, but it depends.
It depends. Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty big calculus on how that works out, and in some ways, it's the Attorney Full Employment Act. That usually the new homeowner is not going to be responsible for what previous homeowners have done. In a macro terminology, if you have a policy, or if you have good counsel from an attorney.
I realize you're not an attorney,
no,
and I'm not asking you to...
I can't provide legal advice, and even if I could, I wouldn't do it over the phone. I'm married to an attorney. I'll keep all my attorney jokes to myself, though. But that's not an uncommon occurrence. It does rarely take place. But if somebody has closed on a property and they have a title insurance policy, 99.9% of the times they shouldn't wake up every morning and be concerned, what if something happened from the previous homeowner? Because that's what the title insurance policy does. If somebody comes at you with an issue that involves something before you close on that property, call us. It might be a title claim. If it most likely would be, or we'll help resolve it on your end. If not, and you'll need legal counsel to do it, we'll let you know.
So it protects the homeowner, but it also protects the mortgage company as well, doesn't it?
It is, and this is a big point of confusion. And it's not just people who are buying and selling the home. There are people in the real estate business that need to have it explained in a little better detail on occasion. You'll hear two things. You'll hear about an owner's policy, which covers the interest of the homeowner against any claims on their value of the property. But not everybody pays cash. And last year, we've seen on average about 30% of closings are cash related that we close. The other 70% involve lenders. And lenders are not going to lend money for property unless they are protected from any potential title issues that may affect the value of that property, because that's what they're borrowing money against. So the mortgage company will want a lender policy, and you'll hear it called a lender policy, a mortgage policy, but basically it protects the interest of the lender. For instance, if you had a $100,000 house that one person sold and everybody thought it just belonged to that one person, but it actually belonged to them and their brother, so there's actually a 50% interest that somebody has in that property that wasn't taken care of, then all of a sudden that person they lend money against, the lender, they don't have the $100,000 of interest. They only have $50,000 of interest. So the lenders want to make sure they don't have that type of exposure. So they'll get a mortgage policy that's usually simultaneously issued with the owner's policy at a discount. And the buyer usually pays for that because the buyer has to get the mortgage. And that'll protect the lender for any type of title claims that may come up.
So does it make sense that they're in different amounts? Because let's say the buyer is putting down 20%. Mm-hmm. So the mortgage company, let's say it's a $100,000 home, right. The buyer's putting down 20%. So the mortgage company needs it for $80,000. The homeowner needs it for the purchase price of $100,000.
Correct. And let's just use round numbers here. And a neat thing that we do, and that does kind of confuse people, the rate for title insurance is, you'll hear the phrase promulgated rate. It's set by the state of Florida. It's the same regardless of where you go.
So no need to shop around.
No. It's the Governor Scott has said you shall charge this, and it's all based upon your sales price. And the numbers it's pretty round. For a $100,000 property, it's $575. And that's what the policy is based on. And that's for the lender policy too. Now, if there was just a standalone lender policy for $80,000, that's about $460 because it's all based upon sales price. What we do in the title business, because we go, okay, we have an owner's policy protects the owner, a lender policy or mortgage policy that protects the lender. They're the same property. There's roughly the same risk. You have two different parties, though, that need to be covered. So what will happen is they're not going to charge $575 for the $100,000 policy that protects a homeowner, and they're not going to charge $460 for the lender policy that protects the interest of the lender. We will simultaneously issue both policies, and we'll issue the second policy, the lower priced policy, for a flat rate. We charge $175. Other people may charge a different amount.
Wait a minute, I thought you said the rates are promulgated by the state. So
they are. And that would be the rate for the more expensive of the two policies.
Okay.
And we simultaneously issue the second policy just at a flat rate. It's a way to save on closing costs.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But is that second one priced differently with different title companies?
The simultaneous issue can be, but
okay.
It's usually between $175 and $225, so just a little bit depending upon where you close. Another thing about the lender policy that also confuses people is it eventually goes away. As that mortgage is paid off, that value of that lender policy will eventually just go away. So when you pay off your mortgage, there's no longer a lender policy because there's no longer a lender's interest in the property to protect.
But it still stays in effect for the owner because somebody could come along 30 years later, this long lost uncle or nephew says, hey, I have some interest in that home or in that property, and therefore I am trying to collect.
Yep, owner's policy lasts for as long as you, the homeowner, own that property or your heirs. So it could be 100 years later.
So it's not like a homeowner's policy we have to pay every year. It is one charge
at the closing
table forever.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, a lot of good information here. We're going to talk about surveys when we get back and the importance of keeping a survey around and what it tells you and what it doesn't, and also how that can affect the need for information on there about the elevation of the property and why that may be important. Elevation's important, right, Craig?
Especially in Florida.
That's right. All right, so stay with us, everybody. Call us with your questions at 222-8255.
Ed Dean, Mike Gallagher, Dennis Prager, The Savage Nation, Mark Levin, Laura Ingram, WBOB, AM 600 and FM 101.1. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Both the United States and South Korea are confirming that North Korea tried and failed again to launch a ballistic missile to at least have much success. It disintegrated at about 40 miles, they say. It's the third time this month North Korea has attempted one of its missile tests in defiance of the U.S. and the international community. Belgium's Prime Minister Charles Michel says the 27 EU nations have to beware of British negotiating tactics of trying to split the bloc during the 2-year divorce proceedings from the bloc. Michel said, quote, maybe the British government will do its utmost to split the 27 nations, and it's a trap we need to avoid, he says. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 41 points. Yesterday, it will open on Monday at 20,940. The high-tech NASDAQ struggled. It was down 1 point. The S&P 500 gave up 5. International oil prices up 36 cents a barrel. This is SRN News.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields, inviting you to become a member of the Fields family when you buy or lease from any of our 31 locations. We can offer you an advantage in pricing, selection, service, and of course our Fields amenities that include free loaners, car washes, and our gourmet coffee bars. And with more than 35,000 vehicles sold annually, you can get a great offer like this.
And now you can lease the new 2017 Jaguar XE25T for only $279 per month for 36 months at Jaguar Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard.
After all, you're not just treated like family, you are family. And Fields matters because you matter.
Come see Fields first at Jaguar Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard. Go to JaguarJacksonville.com. Available to qualified lessees through Jaguar Financial Group. $39.95 due at signing plus tax, title license, and $6.95 dock fee. 10,000 miles per year. MSRP $35,695. Offer ends 5/1/17.
Every day is Black Friday when you shop at one of the 3 Black Friday outlet stores in Jacksonville. Black Friday Outlet can save you on high-quality furniture and bedding at clearance prices. Sofas as low as $249, mattresses from $149, couches like sofa recliners from $349, 5-piece bedroom suits starting at $699. How do they do it? Black Friday Outlet searches for clearance sales on brand new furniture, and 60 to 70% off savings is not unusual. Mention this commercial and get an extra 10% off. Delivery available, 90 days same as cash. The calendar always says Black Friday at the 3 Black Friday outlet stores in Jacksonville. 1187 Lane Avenue South, just south of Normandy. 5042 West Beaver Street at Edgewood. And at Sam's Furniture Store, 1308 Dunn Avenue. Join them on Facebook at Black Friday Furniture Warehouse.
Business is happening every day, all around us. Stay on top of it all with our sister station, 100.3 The Biz.
You're listening to Bloomberg Markets with Tim Fox and Lisa Abramowitz.
Stay up to the minute with Bloomberg Radio.
This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Catch up with the latest news with Gordon Deal.
You're listening to America's First News This Morning with Gordon Deal.
100.3 The Biz.
Stuck in traffic? WBOB has the answer.
And the roads are still looking good. Once again, watch out for all the construction going on about town. As for the weather, cloudy all day today, looking for a high near 88. Mostly cloudy both tonight and tomorrow night, looking for a low of 72. Sunday, partly sunny, high 85. And then Monday, about a 20% chance of showers. Partly sunny skies, highs of 86. Still hanging at 75 right here at WBOB. AM 600, The Answer.
Let's return to Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here with Greg Harris, the president of Watson Title Insurance. Well, I almost said insurance. Watson Title Services of Northeast Florida. He's been on the show many times before over the last 5 years. In fact, he has been a sponsor on the show since day one. So
early adopter.
5 years, and we appreciate that very, very much. And you've done many, many closings, and every single one of them has been successful. And you've found some interesting things along the way that have prevented a couple of buyers and sellers, well, mainly buyers, I guess, from getting into trouble and buying a piece of property that they haven't. I want to talk about surveys, because surveys sometimes find some things that are, give unfortunate news to a seller and have prevented some buyers from buying a property where there may be some trouble. So let's talk about some things that you have found over the years that some of our listeners may find interesting. So.
And I think it's getting a survey in some ways is kind of like going to a doctor. Some people don't want to go to the doctor because they think if they go to the doctor's going to invent some problem they have. It's like, no, the doctor's just going to tell you that you've got some type of sickness or some type of condition and will help get you healthy. And in some ways, surveys are like that, that when you get a survey, there might be some stuff that come back that you might not be happy with, but you really want to know, because it's better to know early and fix it, especially if the bill to fix it is the seller's bill and not yours, than to go along happy in ignorance and have a nasty surprise when you try to build it, or somebody knocks on your door and gives you, by the way. In surveys themselves, people always ask, well, how much does a survey cost? I'm like, well, it depends. We have some great surveyors we work with because we make sure that they get paid. We pay it up front, and then we get compensated after the closing, which is good because we get a good response from them. But it depends, because it's like any other business. There can be certain challenges. If it's a lot and block, simple house in a certain part of town, maybe your survey is somewhere between $250 to $350. If it's way off at the Duval County Baker line and they got to put on hip boots and get a rattlesnake wrangler to go with them, and it's all meets and bounds, go to this oak tree and then over to this ant mound, and that could be a $650, $750 survey. It just all depends. But when the survey comes back in Florida, and you mentioned something before the break about elevation lines, I joke with people who like to make fun of my home state that, okay, fine, Florida is either swamped or drained swamp, and we love it that way. But elevation is important around here because you have federally protected wetlands. You have a lot of conservation areas. You might be in a coastal conservation zone. There might be elevations that affect your flood insurance that you would make sure you want to talk to your insurance guy about, that you have the right rates with. But based upon what's on a survey, it's going to tell you a few things. Well, one thing it might tell you is that perhaps the buyer and the seller have been talking about a property of a certain size and a certain description. When the survey comes back and somebody looks at it and goes, I'm only selling half of an acre. This survey is for the full acre. Yes, that's true, because they used the legal description provided on the purchase and sale agreement. Well, that's not right. Well, let's look at it. Yes, it is. Oops, the wrong property description. Or that's not, believe it or not, that's not my property. Yes, it is. That's the legal description on the contract. That's the one next door. Yeah. Let's go ahead and fix the contract, and we'll get another survey. These things can happen. Or you can have a circumstance where a survey comes back and somebody who's lived there 30, 40, 50 years will go, why is half of my neighbor's storage shed on my property? Or why is this fence 5 feet inside my property? The survey is wrong. Like, no, the survey is actually right. We'll have them go back and double check. But your property is perhaps not what you think it is. We've also had circumstances where, Howard, can you believe that sometimes people will make improvements on their property without pulling a permit?
So they and this is exterior improvements that make it go over a property line, or sometimes you have a part of your own property that is a marsh or a wetland
that you're not allowed to put things on. And you go out there and somebody loves this property because it's this beautiful deck and a gazebo. And, that deck and the gazebo should not have been built there. It's not allowed to be built there. It has to be removed now. That can affect things. There have been circumstances where people have had a relative in the pool business and they've put a pool in an easement, which one cannot do. There have been circumstances where...
Now let's talk about what an easement is. I know what that is, but tell everybody what an easement is.
An easement would be, there's a variety of different easements. JEA can have an easement that they need across a property so they can access power lines. Or perhaps there is a pipeline underneath, or perhaps there's a drainage easement where they don't want anybody building a property on this because your entire neighborhood, in case of a hurricane, needs that drainage area in order to make sure that everybody doesn't flood. And if you build a big concrete shed across a drainage easement, next hurricane you come in, all your neighbors are going to be frowning at you because they got a half a foot of water in there.
So let's say you put in a pool without getting a permit and it crosses 2 feet into this easement. So the current owner did that. And the survey now shows this. Should the buyer buy the property? Well, that's a maybe yes and maybe no. That depends on whether they think the person that has the easement or the company that has the easement or the county that has the easement, whoever, is going to sometime later come back and say, hey, you're on our easement, and you have to remove that particular building or pool or whatever. That is a definite possibility.
It is, and that's definitely one of those cases too. That one of those things that you can pay a little money now or a lot of money later. They probably need to get legal counsel really fast to make sure what their options are with regard to the city. And what type of maneuvers they can make. But it's a tough situation. And you can really, sometimes people will do things that can really get themselves in trouble. We've seen people, a new survey comes up on a property that people have owned for decades, and they don't like the results of what the survey is saying. And they say, well, I have a survey from, 30, 40 years ago that looks a little different than that. And I was like, okay, well, you didn't tell us those previous surveys, so let's bring it in. And lo and behold, that survey shows that since Nixon's first administration, somebody had filled in an acre or so of federally protected wetlands. That's something that a new homeowner would definitely want to know before they take possession of that property. Because maybe it'd be 1 year, 10 years, 100 years from now, you don't want to be the homeowner of a property that has, at some point to the line, done something with a federally protected wetland. You don't want to talk to those people. So that's a good thing that a survey can find. And there can even be little minor things. For instance, I won't mention the neighborhood, but there are some developments around here that got running before when the Great Recession began last decade. And so people had built a house and nobody had built next to them for 6, 7, 8 years. Lo and behold, the lot next is sold. They're coming up to build it. And all of a sudden, the concrete slab that their HVAC is on actually has 1.5 feet encroachment on their neighbor's property. And there's lots of ways to solve that. Maybe the resolution is to get a big diamond saw out there and cut the little angle of that concrete off. So you can find things like that too that aren't big headaches, are kind of funny, but still need action on, and surveys will tell you that.
Do we need to get a new survey every time the house is sold, or can an old one be used? Because the survey is paid for by the seller, correct? Or is it paid for by the buyer? Who normally pays for that?
It depends on how it's on the contract.
Okay.
Yep. It can go either way. And on the contract, many times it says, I'll accept an older survey or I want a new survey. And you also need to know what the lender do. But old surveys are acceptable, and we'll take, and we just have them sign an affidavit saying no changes have been made since this survey was done. So nobody's put on an exterior attachment.
Okay, and no changes means no changes have been made to your neighbor's property. So if your neighbor has put on a fence, you want to make sure that neighbor's fence has not encroached on your property. So it's not only changes to your property.
Correct.
It's changes to your backside neighbor or the neighbors on your left or your right.
And you do see that.
All right. Well, you've given us lots of great information today, and we got another segment to come back to. Nobody's called in with questions, I guess, because you have given so much great information. So, but we do have one segment left. So if you do have questions, call Greg at, or call us at 222-8255. We're going to give Greg's number after the break. We'll be right back. Good morning, WBOB listeners. It's your realtor on the radio, Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. Angela and I want to thank you for tuning in with us for our 5th year now. It's been such a great pleasure to be on the radio with you, giving you advice on buying and selling, as well as answering your questions on the air. Thank you so much for the trust that you have in us as professional, experienced realtors with over 20 years of combined experience. We want you to know that when it's time to sell your home, we want to be your realtor. We will focus on your home, your family, and your time frame. Our team will customize a marketing plan to give you the best exposure to get you the best price and have the best selling experience possible. Whether it's a condo or a house, a short sale or a regular sale, a $200,000 home or a mansion, you will get the same great service. Call us at 421-7950 and join the multitudes of others that have experienced the Angela and Howard team advantage. There's finally a mortgage lender in Jacksonville that sees financing differently. With 20 years experience, CMG Financial understands that the most important purchase in your life, your home, deserves the right mortgage. Tim McConnell at CMG Financial will work to customize the best financing option for you. Angela and I recommend CMG Financial to all our customers. Give Tim a call at 528-2103. That's 528-2103. CMG Financial is a registered trade name of CMG Mortgage, Inc., NMLS number 1820, and licensed as a mortgage lender servicer by the Office of Financial Regulation, number MLD 375, individual MLS number 181046. One of the most critical parts of buying or selling your home is the very last process. That's the closing process. Angela and I recommend Watson Title Services. They have the experience to handle any issue that can come up, and there is never an upfront fee to the seller. Whether you are using a realtor with the sale of your home or not, always ask for Watson Title Service to handle your closing. We do. Call them at 461-3220. That's Watson Title Services.
This segment of Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard is brought to you by Watson Title Services of Northeast Florida. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Welcome back, everybody. We're in the 4th segment of the show already. Greg Harris is our co-host today because Angela is out with her daughter at her graduation from University of Florida. It's a beautiful day for them to walk for their graduation. It's a beautiful day. It's a warm day. Not only is it a warm day, it's a hot day. And even though we're talking to Greg about closing process, we have to talk about some of the hot deals that we have going. But I have some good news and some bad news. Want to hear what it is? Well, I will tell you, there's not as many to talk about. You know why? We sold them. You know, we told you about a condo that we thought would sell last weekend. We were right. It sold the very first day. We could have sold that thing 4 times. We had so many calls about that condo. Not only that, 2 of our other listings did too. Angela says if it looks good and it's priced right, they sell quickly. Marketing is just one of the many processes in the selling of a home. And, of course, today we've been talking about the other process, the closing process. But I need to tell you about a couple of other homes that are still on the market, and they need to sell. In fact, one of them is going to have an open house today. But let me tell you about a couple of the other ones. One is on Double Oaks Drive on the north side. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,900 square feet. It's gated. not the house, but the community, of course. It's got a huge family room with lots of built-in shelvings, picture frame molding in the dining room, gorgeous tile and wood flooring, and it's on a half an acre lot. You don't see that very often. It's a fenced-in rear yard, got a breakfast bar, 42-inch cabinets, a covered patio, built in 05. It's right off of Alta Drive, so Double Oaks Drive, $265,000. Now, that's less than $100 an acre. How about that? In a gated community? Oh, my gosh. And the house is gorgeous. Now, we've also been telling you for the past few weeks about a house in Orange Park off of Kingsley. This is a brick 1980s vintage home on Village Way with some really special features. And the two of the features that I really like are the large rooms. One of them is the family room. By the way, this house has 2,300 square feet. The family room is huge, and it has a big cathedral ceiling with floor-to-ceiling stone fireplace and French doors that lead to a grand rear sunroom with skylights and fans, and not just a hot tub back there, but the hot tub is not a regular hot tub. Oh, no, it's built into the floor, so you can walk right into your hot tub. And the rear yard is fenced, has a beautiful patio, and there's no HOA fee there. Well, kind of. It's voluntary, and it's $75 a year. It's right off of Kingsley. It's a mile south of Blanding. It's $229,900 for this gorgeous brick home, and it has a brand new roof. And when I say new, it's a month old. So, that's one of the largest costs. It is the largest cost of home maintenance, but you got a brand new one. One more I'm going to tell you about. It's on Daniels Landing in Fleming Island. Now, Daniels Landing is a small enclave of like 30 homes, of 30 large homes. This is a true custom home. You will not find another home that looks like this. So this is not cookie cutter. It's 4,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, really high ceilings, big double front door, 3-car garage, and one of them is extra long, so you can actually put your boat in it. It's 26 feet deep. It's got a computer nook, not in the garage, but in the house, of course, a bonus room upstairs, perfect for your teenager, huge front porch that goes all the way from the left side of the house to the front, a screened rear porch overlooking the private rear yard, a huge family room also with built-ins, and you'll never, ever run out of kitchen space in this kitchen. I have never seen more cabinets, because what they did is they separated sort of the kitchen from the family room with cabinets that are ground level. So you can see into the family room, but the cabinets are on the ground. So it's really, really neat. You'll never run out of cabinets. Beautiful wood staircase. It's $499,000. It's $125 a foot for a true custom home. It's open today from 1 to 4, hosted by Rob, who's one of the realtors on our team. It's off of Lakeshore Drive in Fleming Island. Now, we got a couple of vacant lots also. There's one off of 103rd, has a double wide that's going to need to be removed, but 2 acres for $77,500, has a double car garage and also a carport. So you can check that one out. Those are the hot deals of the day that we just had to talk about, because they're all really, really priced well. They're all going to sell pretty quickly. And then Greg Harris of Watson Title Company is going to do the title searches on them. One of them, actually, Greg, the one that is 2 acres, goes way, way back, been in the family for many, many years. And in fact, it backs up to some government land. So that'll be an interesting one to do, not only a title search, but to do the survey on. The survey, it's a triangular lot with about 400 feet on Normandy. And so it'd be fun to do a survey on. Of course, you don't do the surveys, but
those often can be the most complicated ones, or the ones that have been in a family for a long time, because Aunt Bessie quit claim deed it to Uncle Bocephus, and Uncle Bocephus gave it to his sons Bubba and Jeremy, and it's entertaining sometimes to do those family searches.
Well, sometimes you have power of attorneys involved as well. So let's talk a little bit about powers of attorneys and how those work, because sometimes the person that has the power of attorney thinks he's getting the money. And he or she does not necessarily get the money. So let's talk about that.
No, in power of attorneys, you see them for a variety of reasons. All a power of attorney is, it's a document that says, Howard, let's say you and Angela are going on a Greek island vacation, and y'all are selling one of your properties, and you've got a buyer, and you go, you know what, we're going on the Greek island vacation, but, Greg, if you could just go ahead and sign the documents, that would be great. We would create for that a specific power of attorney, which says Greg, as power of attorney for Howard and Angela, can sell this property, and that's how it would be signed, exactly how it is on the power of attorney. But all I could do would be to sign documents on your behalf. So usually power of attorneys have to do with something like that, where the sellers or the buyers, for that matter, are out of state, out of the country, or sometimes people just, I don't want to be bothered because I'm too busy. That's a minority. And when we're in that circumstance, at no cost, we'll do a specific power of attorney that'll allow that to be done. And people can have other power of attorneys from other states that may not work because Florida has very specific requirements that are different than, say, California or Louisiana or other states. So we would need to look at it. Sometimes people have general power of attorneys that weren't put together properly. We need to look at the verbiage, make sure it has the correct verbiage in it for a real estate transaction. But if that doesn't work, it's okay, because again, at no cost, we can create a specific power of attorney to do that. What that doesn't do, though, that while Angela and Howard are doing their Greek island vacation and Greg signs for their documents, the proceeds from that closing are not made out to Greg Harris, and Greg can't take that money and then take his own vacation to Alaska. So people understand, what a power of attorney can do and what it doesn't do. But we do see a lot of power of attorneys, and the only time power of attorneys become a challenge is when people mention that they need one the day before the closing, or they give us one that really doesn't meet the requirements, and it's difficult to find the person to sign the specific power of attorney.
So let's say I inherit a property along with my brother or brothers, and the brothers are in two different states, and obviously they don't want to come here for the closing. So you can do a power of attorney for a brother in Pennsylvania, a brother in Virginia. But how do you determine, or what method do you use to determine who the proceeds go to? And you're going to, maybe you assume, or you shouldn't ever assume, that it's a third. No. What document do you use to show who gets what and how much?
Usually, especially with families, when you have circumstances like that, it's a result of they've inherited a property from an estate, and the estate's been, once the person who owns it passes and they have a will, the estate is usually probated. And we'll look at the probate documents, which will specify who gets what. So it might not be a third. It might be 80-20-10. It all depends how the estate was probated based upon the wishes of the original homeowner.
Okay. But otherwise, you get some document
absolutely
that says who gets what.
Yes, sir.
Well, you have given a ton of information. Now, the contact information for Watson Title is 461-3220. 461-3220. So if you're selling your home on your own without a realtor, you can go to Watson Title. You don't have to be using a realtor, although we always recommend that you do, correct?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
All right, and you're available to do mobile closings as well. If you want to, don't want to come to office, somebody can come to your residence as well. All right. We thank you for being on the show with us today. We're doing this radio show to give back to the community. We want to thank you for listening. God bless everyone. The Van Weezer here. We'll be back with you next week. God bless everybody.